Okay guys, we got a 2010 Ford Edge 3.5 liter. Was just going to go on a road test because I believe there's a wheel bearing something that is not happy, but the check engine light was flashing, so I decided to take a peek at that. It was pretty much out of oil. If we go info, reset, it does say 177,000 miles. And if we look up here, we got a sticker that says 167,000 miles, as if it's 10,000 miles over. That sticker looks awfully fresh. The ink looks awfully fresh, so I don't know. Maybe someone wasn't thinking. I don't know the status of that. But the oil is pretty dark, so it's definitely not brand new. It's possible maybe it is a full 10,000 miles over. The oil is also very low. Hard to say. Something to keep in the back of the head. So if I went back and just to give you codes, oops, I'll have to go back to the codes menu. Oh, no. Don't want to exit model. So we'll go auto. So usually what I do, just to make this easier, I'll just hit auto scan and then I'll just kind of hit pause. That's all I really care about. And so we have system 2 lean, bank 2, cylinder 4, misfire, and then we got the misfire on first 1,000 RPMs and cat inefficiency of bank 2. So we only have a misfire code for one cylinder, which is cylinder 4. That's the one in the front, in the middle of the front. So let's go take a quick look at that, see if we see anything on the visual. Okay, so interestingly enough, we do notice that cylinder 4 has a different style coil than the others. The connector does appear to be plugged in all the way, I believe. Give it a little push, yeah. The injector, sorry for moving you around all over the place. The injector also appears to be plugged in. I don't see any mouse marks. So for this part, I try to disturb as little as possible. Let me get you better light on that injector. There is obviously evidence of mice, as there always is in vehicles like this, but I don't see any chew marks or exposed wires. Okay, so let me hop back inside. Okay, so now that we're back, what we can do is we'll go out of here. We can escape. We can go to service, because this is a Ford that keeps misfire information on mode 6. So I can go to powertrain. Come on. I can go OBD. I can go mode 6. So this is a Ford thing. These are non-continuous monitors. So, you know what? If you were to clear this and see if they would count again, you know, it might take days before you get any kind of actual increase. So, we just scroll down. We scroll down to our misfires, and we see, okay, here's misfire cylinder 1. So we're looking right here where it says value. And again, we don't know exactly what these numbers mean. We're just looking to see what we see. So cylinder 1, all the values are 0. Cylinder 2, all the values are 0. 3, all the values are 0. 4, we got a whole bunch. 5, we got 0. And 6, we got 0. Now, when I hopped in this thing, it was flashing check engine light, and it was pretty much a dead misfire. Oh, I didn't want to go out of that completely. Okay, so what I will do, it appears like we have a cylinder 4 dead misfire, so I can fire it up. Oh yeah, she's really not happy. I don't know if that'll pick up on the camera, the sound of it, but it is very much not happy. And sure enough, there we are. Cylinder 4, dead misfire. Okay, so the first things to do, the easiest things to do, normally would be to swap coils. I know that there is a fresh coil in there, but you know what, you gotta do that anyways. You gotta pull the coil out, you gotta pull the spark plug out, kind of inspect it and see what you see, because maybe someone did a tune-up, who knows, you know, a spark plug could be cracked, any possible explanations. Start with easy stuff. Most of the time that is the case, is it's just a bad coil or bad spark plug. But you know what, since the fuel injector's right there, we can do a quick measurement of that too, just for resistance, and see if that's out or enough to cause us concern. So let me set up for that and we'll see what we see. Okay, so it looks like we got a nice and sweet one. As you can tell, I've already swapped the coils. You know, I pulled out the plug, inspected that, didn't see anything wrong with that. You know, I checked the resistance on the fuel injector, everything was checking good. I was just about to run it and check it to see if it moved. And then afterwards I was going to kind of film that because I was during my regular work day. But, wouldn't you know it, that was before my lunch. You know, I hadn't eaten yet. That's the excuse I'm going to use. 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6, right? Right? No. This is what happens when you assume things. I usually have a habit of always typing it into Google and checking for this exact reason. Sure enough, when you type in 2010 Ford Edge 3.5 liter, like all Fords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So does that mean we got to pull out the spark plug to take a peek there? Because of course this plug looked nice. No real reason to suspect that plug doesn't look nice. However, Fords, I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way they make them. I have seen a lot of bad fuel injectors. So let's get you to kind of a position where we got some light in there. So we pull you off. We'll show you what a good one should look like. The way I remember it is a 10-to-1, if that makes sense. You know, coils obviously is a high energy device, so they use roughly 10 times the current as a fuel injector. I just gotten used to, from lab scoping them with amp clamps, right? I would see roughly 10 amps for a coil and roughly 1 amp for a fuel injector. So if we plug in basic Ohm's law, that means we should see roughly around 12 ohms for a fuel injector. You know, plus or minus a couple, anywhere from say about 10 to 14 or so is pretty normal. They do change with heat, so as they are warmer, expect to be a little less resistance. As they cool down, maybe a tiny bit more. But anyways, so if you find a spec, it'll always say, or almost always say, room temperature. So if I can get these in there, I don't bother looking them up. So we see right there, we see 12.5. That's pretty normal. That's about what I would expect. Now again, this of course, this isn't testing everything. This isn't testing to see whether or not it's physically flowing. It's just testing the magnetic coil. It doesn't mean whether the pinto's not physically stuck or any of that stuff. It's just a quick 5-second check. It's not the same as hooking up a pressure gauge to the rail and doing a proper fuel injector drop test with say like a buzzer. But it's a very quick test, and you know what? No sense spending a bunch of time if a quick test tells you everything you need to know. So if I can shove these down there, and we get that on there, there we go. Come on, get back on there. 35 ohms. That's way too much. This other one here is 12.5. You know what? If we saw 14, 15 ohms, yeah, we'd make note of it. And then if we had to, we'd kind of go and check with the proper test. But you know what? 35 ohms. You see anything, you know, these are supposed to be roughly around 12 ohms. So if you saw anything above, you know, 20 ohms for sure, that's bad. And you know what? 35 ohms, there's no way that injector is working. That's the problem. Absolutely, if I really wanted to, I could swap these, you know, run it right now, see if it does follow any of the swap parts, whether it be coils or plugs. But you know what, that's bad fuel injector. These are in the front, easy enough to check. If you have an older vehicle, you know, say you got the misfire in the back, you know what, it's always recommended to change the coils and change the plugs if you have a misfire. These Fords do use 2-wire coils, so that means the actual current that flows through the coil is inside the computer. So if you get a coil that goes bad, if it gets shorted, then that means the transistor that goes bad from the excess current is inside the computer. If you got a 3 or 4-wire coil, then that transistor that handles all that current that would get damaged from a short, that would be inside the coil. Hey, you throw it out, you get a new one. So on a 2-wire coil, if a coil goes bad, and Fords, they like to short, they do go bad, they can and will take out the engine computer. You know what, you'll have a bad coil, you'll replace the coil, and you go to run it, and guess what, you still have a misfire. Why? Because the computer is damaged. It's not turning it on anymore because it's overloaded. So if you had the misfire in the back, and say you weren't 100% sure, you weren't able to do Swaptronics to determine whether or not the coils are fine, or if it was all that misfire, or if it was all that fuel injector, then you know what, I would say absolutely change all the coils back there, change the plugs. But since we're up front here, if we still have an issue, no big deal, we can do that afterwards. But I don't have any reason to suspect that. I suspect our whole issue is just this injector. Now, these fuel rails, I don't know if you can see in there, it is a solid rail, so that does mean we have to pull the plenum up. So we are going to be checking those plugs. We're assuming that we're changing the plugs. These ones here, they look pretty fresh, pretty new, but that sure as heck wouldn't be the first time I've seen new plugs in the front and originals underneath the plenum. Don't do it. They really aren't that hard to pull. But anyways, yeah, we will check the plugs, and you know what, if they look even 50%, we're still going to replace them, or at least give the customer that option. That's what we'll recommend, is replacing them, because we're there. But we got an issue, bad fuel injector, the 35 ohms, that's all, we're done. We don't need to do any more. It needs an injector. Of course, while we're there, we'll check all the others, make sure the others are about the same. Or sorry, by about the same, I mean 12 ohms, not 35 ohms. And any that are more than, say, 3 or 4 ohms out of the norm, we'll change those as well while we're there. But yeah, just nice and simple. Don't overlook the basics. Don't need to always go fancy with lab scopes or whatever. You know, sometimes just a simple ohm meter is all you need. Anyways, hopefully this is helpful for you guys. Let me know if you've encountered any fuel injectors that have gone bad on your Fords. I have seen a lot, not just on these 3.5s. Some of the older vehicles too, 5.4s, 3 liters, you name it. But anyways, yeah, hopefully this helps you out. And you know, if you got any comments, suggestions, leave them down below. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. And bye for now.